My Piper Cub is coming up on her 78th birthday, and I've owned her about 5 years. And after a few years of being involved in the owning of a classic aircraft, there's a few things that I can pass on to somebody else out there who's thinking about buying one of these gorgeous aviation works of art. So here goes. First up is rule number 1, you will probably not get complete logs. Now, I know I will get some comments from people that say, you're wrong, Matt. I have complete logs for my airplane because I inherited it from my father in 1948 and it's been sitting in a hangar in Nebraska ever since. Well, that might be true. Most of the Cubs you see out there have gone through multiple owners. They have multiple things done to them, and the logbooks entry are lacking. As an example, look at this annual inspection. It doesn't say anything all about what work was performed, just that the aircraft meets the specifications to be approved for annual. This is commonly called a signature annual, and in my opinion, this is not a complete logbook entry. My airplane only has logbooks back to sometime in the mid-50s, which technically is not complete. However, I have logbooks back before I was born, so I'll just have to go with that. There is an old joke about economists, and that is if you have two of them in a room, don't mention the economy, because one of them will say, oh, the economy, it's improving, and the other one will say, no, it's not. Whenever you ask a question to try and learn about your new Piper Cub you just bought, be prepared to constantly be told that what you've been told by other people is wrong. There is no shortage of places on the internet to ask questions about your Cub. I belong to the Piper J3 Cub page on Facebook, and it's not bad. But as an example, my airplane is covered in seconite. One time I went on there and asked a simple question about the life expectancy of seconite if properly cared for. I got everything from somebody who works for the company that builds seconite to say that properly cared for, it's lifetime fabric, to other people telling me that on a certain date, and they couldn't tell me what date that was, my fabric should be ripped off because it is, quote, too old. Never did get a straight answer. But that's just an example of how when you ask what time it is, people start telling you how to build a clock. There's also a forum called J3 Cub Forum, not on Facebook, and it's a better forum. It tends to be a smaller group and a higher percentage of people that actually own and work on Cubs, but you still have some of the same problems. If you're going to own one of these airplanes, you really need to have a hangar. Now, depending where you are, that might or might not be a big deal. If you're in any kind of populated area like I am in the Tampa Bay area of Florida, hangars will range from $300 to $700 a month, and you can be on hangar waiting list for years until you actually get one. I have my airplane at a grass field just south of Tampa, but it's about a 45-minute drive from where I live, and my airport was recently sold. Word has it the new owner is going to keep it as an airport, but you never know. Next up is you're going to have to learn how to source or scrounge for parts on your own. You didn't buy a Piper 140 or a Cessna 172 or something that you can punch in on the internet and find numerous suppliers of parts. You bought a 78 at least year-old airplane, and there's not a lot of parts options left to you. There are companies like Univair where you can source parts from, but there are individual parts on their webpage that cost more than my airplane costs new. So that shouldn't be your only option. For instance, if your Cub is like mine and still has the original expander brakes, you can find yourself searching the web pages and the forums for somebody who's got parts lying around their hangar, because you're not really going to find a new production expander brakes. Your only other option would be to upgrade to more modern Grove-style brakes, but you hate to spend $2,000 to upgrade your brakes when all you might have needed was a simple fix. As much as you might want to keep the original aircraft feel of 1945, some things are going to change. When I bought my Cub, I wanted as original Cub as I could find. I wanted the true 1946 experience. Then after owning it, I realized several things. Let's start with the instrument panel. The altimeter, well, it's not very accurate. It's more of an approximation. The compass, at least my eyesight, can't be read from the back seat. The airspeed indicator, since it runs only off a pitot tube and doesn't have a static line, tends to fluctuate with any perceptible yaw. And the tachometer, the face of it ought to say approximate engine RPM. Then there's the idea the original seat belts probably wouldn't restrain anybody in this airplane, so you're probably going to want to add shoulder harnesses. And while there's no prettier sound than that of a Continental 65 at idle, upgrading to the 85 like I did this last year made you actually able to carry passengers around during the summer here and actually climb away from the field. I also mentioned in an earlier video back during COVID when my Eisman mags died, what a pain it was to find a supplier who could actually send the slick upgrade kit with the proper parts so I could get back in the air. That took about 4 months. But in spite of all that, you should know, as long as you have one of these, a data plate, that's the FAA's permission to build a Piper Cub. You can get the parts together and put it in the air. Because once you do get it in the air, you won't think about any of that. You knew that going in when you bought a classic piece of American aviation history. So do whatever you have to do to get it in the air and go flying. Thanks for watching.